Cassandra, it's great to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
Doing well, Adam. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast. Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. It's great to have you on. And yeah, I just kind of like thought I'd start out by kind of asking, because you do like a lot of content creation, as we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about before, and
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of like into like faith-based coaching and that kind of thing. Like, kind of like, how did you kind of get into like personal development and like this kind of like entrepreneurial side?
That's a great question, Adam. And in short, I just kind of dove into it,
Mm,
kind of a leap of faith, some might say.
yeah.
For me as a millennial, I haven't really found a lot of joy or happiness or contentment in the 9 to 5. All the
Mm,
jobs that are available to me, I gave those a try for several years after I graduated college and was in HR and recruiting a bit. Got laid off, had bad bosses, toxic workplace environments, just never felt like I was really valued. I felt like I was kind of like a cog in the wheel. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
just disposable, basically.
yeah.
And so I think that kind of propelled me. My husband and I moved across country from California to Texas to pay off our student loans because we had like over 100K in student loan debt, and so we couldn't pay it off and also live in California. So we moved, and then instead of taking another job, I was like, well, maybe I'll just give it a try, give the entrepreneurship thing a try. And so someone on LinkedIn actually hit me up and said, do you want to try to learn how to build a recruiting business? So I said, sure, I'll try, give that a try. I did that for like a year, made some money, but it wasn't really my calling. I didn't, wasn't super happy with it either. So, but at the same time, Adam, a business coach on LinkedIn, because everyone's a coach on LinkedIn, um,
Yeah.
someone challenged me to post my first video. He's like, I dare you to post your first video, give that a try. He said, I'll call you back in 20 minutes and you have to post your video. So just go with it. So I said, okay, sure. So the same laptop that I'm talking to you on, I like just recorded a short video and said something like just, hey, I'm Cassandra. I felt very nervous and awkward, and
Mm.
I actually did like this like weird thing at the end. I like winked at the camera, and I never wink. It just came out because I was so nervous to do a video. So funny story. Now I do that at the end of almost all my videos. More as just kind of like I see you, I'm like connecting with you, something yeah, to connect with my audience. Anyways, so long story short, Adam, I kind of fell in love with the content creation process, like being able to share your story, with people, inspire people just by like showing up,
Yeah.
has really been like something that has spoken to my soul, and I think that, we're all on this journey of life trying to find that thing that really kind of speaks to the deeper
Mm,
parts of us, not just to make money and to pay the bills, but
mm,
something that like satisfies that creative, yearning and desire. And not
yeah.
all of us are made that way. Some of us are happy just with a job and that's it. But some of us have like this deeper call to create, to contribute to the world. And I think that's what content creation does. Like for me personally, sharing videos on LinkedIn, blogging, podcasting, like you and I are doing right now. So that's what kind of got me into to circle back to your question, what got me into faith-based coaching and content creation. A big part of who I am is my faith. I believe
Mm,
in God, that we're all here for a reason and for a purpose. Um, and I'd like to just share that, that hope with
mm,
people. I mean, now more than ever, I feel like people need that. So that's kind of the core of like of my messaging, in my content in my videos, and the work I do with people who want to share their story and their message too. That foundation is the faith piece. So yeah, that's
yeah.
where I'm at
No,
right now. Yeah.
that's great. That's really great. And I think like, you said, you tried out like the 9 to 5 kind of thing and it didn't, it wasn't really for you and that, you had to move, to Texas and, all this kind of like, this journey to like where you are and you just felt like that leap of faith into, you know, like entrepreneurship. And I think that's kind of like where it's kind of at, isn't it? You have to take that leap. And I think it's great that, you know, you're kind of following something and just kind of, you know, like doing it and just putting, you know, your foot in the water and just kind of seeing where it goes. And I think like
Exactly.
there is that kind of, when you, like you say, when you're creative, there's that kind of like inner yearning, isn't there, to put content out there, or to make videos, or, you know, articles and that kind of thing. And I've kind of been learning that since I've been doing podcasting and putting things on social media. You get ideas to do, you know, a post or something like that. But like, it's very frightening when you first start doing that. Like you said, the first video you do, um,
Yeah.
it's like you'll do like a recording and then you'll delete it afterwards, and then you're like, oh,
Yep.
I'm not gonna put it out.
Exactly. Exactly. It definitely takes like courage to put yourself and your message out there, because we all, as human beings, fear being rejected, being put down. Like, what are people going to think about what I look like? What am I going to say? Am I going to sound stupid? All these thoughts that we have, all these insecurities that prevent us from posting our content, whether it is video or a blog or article. Video probably even the most vulnerable, because people can actually, see you, and there's some
Mm,
interaction there. But like, that feeling isn't actually going to go away. So if you're
mm,
waiting for that feeling to like go away, like, oh, maybe one day I won't feel so insecure, actually it will be there probably always. Even now, a year
mm,
and a half later of me doing video, it's still like there's still something within me like is reserved, like, oh, I don't want to post because what are they going to think? But even though there's proof that like it's gone well, and people
mm.
have received it, still there's this inner voice, that just kind of wants to keep you from. And I think that's the primal brain. I don't know if you've heard of
Yeah.
that. Like, the primal brain wants to keep you safe,
Mm,
like, like, don't cross the street. Obviously, it's that primal brain's like, don't put yourself out there for fear.
mm,
But the prefrontal cortex is like the higher part of the brain, which
mm.
wants us to evolve and wants us to grow and stretch. And that's the part of the brain that will like tell you to post anyways, because
Yeah.
it's going to lead to further growth versus like just staying in your comfort zone, where your primal brain wants you to remain safe, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think it's kind of, well, you know what, as you go along, it's kind of like part of the process, isn't it? I think it's,
Yes.
you know, going through those motions and, you know, going through that fear and, you know, that kind of like doubt as well alongside it, because that all kind of like comes up for you when you start going into like the unknown and you start doing new things. There's that kind of like, should I be doing
Mm,
this? You know, why are you doing this? And
yes.
like, you know, video can be difficult. And I remember when I did my podcast, I think I did 60 episodes on audio
Wow.
first before yeah, it's true. So I put quite a lot. I did like 60 on audio because I didn't want to do video, you
Yep.
know, and then I just kind of, I saw a lot of people doing it, and I was like, well, if they're doing it, you know, shall I try it? Um,
Wow.
and just, yeah, it's scary at first, but I think, like we're saying before, we start recording, is that people always kind of see the person where they are now,
Yeah.
and not the things, you know, in between before that.
Yeah, I think that's really something that's maybe missing for as far as like what content is out there. Is you typically see people making like the 10K months and like, killing it or whatever. But then what about like the process, like the journey to get there? Like, what kind of things did you struggle with or fail out or try? I think that's what like really resonates with people more so, is the actual um the process, and not just like the destination as in like the income or whatever it is. We want to see the steps it took to get there. And but we're all vulnerable, so we all don't want to share like the failures, the mistakes. No one wants to put that
Mm,
out there. We all want to
mm,
look like successful and like we're thriving. But in all honesty, like, entrepreneurship is like probably one of the most difficult things to do,
mm,
because it exposes you of all the insecurities, all the self-limiting beliefs that you're struggling with to like to break through those and become the next best version of yourself. It
mm,
takes, putting the videos out there, or it takes a lot of
mm,
like internal work. And so
yeah,
like hearing someone talk about that process and hearing someone like, you know work through it, like I think that would be really helpful. And that might be us, that we
mm,
say, hey, the 9 to 5 didn't work for me and I'm trying the entrepreneurial thing, and here's how it's going, here's what I'm
yeah,
trying, here's what's working out, here's what's not.
mm,
um for you guys to learn, for people to like learn, right? Basically, like you're like almost offering yourself as like a uh as a
like a
guinea pig in a
diary.
sense. Yeah, like a diary. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good yeah, analogy.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think like it's not often kind of like promoted, is it? And like especially in education, it's not really something that is spoken about. It's like go to college, get these grades, get a job, and do X, Y, Z. And I think
Exactly.
like I think that there's nothing wrong with that if people are happy with that and they know they want what they want to do and all the rest of it. But I think like that the entrepreneurial side isn't really put in the limelight in that way for something to go to. It's kind of like a very personal thing where I think, like you said, you have to decide to do it. Like you said, you decided to, jump into it. Um, but I think like, you have to kind of document you could because with that you're documenting, the things that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, like you mentioned, we have this prescribed sort of agenda given to us, like from youth.
Mm,
Like you said, you go through school, get these marks or grades, go to the university, get this piece of paper, and then your thought is like, once I get that piece of paper, everything will be fall into place. You know what I mean? Like my life is going to be set. I'll have the piece of paper, the degree, and I'll get the high-paying job, and away I go into the sunset. But
mm,
then what you don't realize is then when you graduate college and get the piece of paper, you're like loaded with all this debt. For maybe the lucky few that don't have debt or however you worked it out.
mm.
You had a mentor to help you. For those who are first generation, maybe like myself, that couldn't maybe didn't know how
Yeah,
to navigate the academic system,
yeah, yeah.
didn't know what was available to them scholarship wise and all that. That's a whole other podcast. But then we're kind of left at like, what do we do now? Like,
Yeah.
and like with life, like life, I don't feel like very prepared.
Mm, yeah.
um and so you're like left to kind of figure it out. And I think my husband and I will have these conversations, like we just realized recently, now entering our 30s, everything, like no one actually really knows what they're doing.
Mm,
I used to think that like everyone knew what they were doing, like all the adults knew what they were doing, and the world had a whole system and plan, but no one actually really knows what they're doing. And everything that we were kind of told is kind of a lie, like the
mm,
whole system of college and university and what you should do.
mm,
It's all not necessarily for us, you know,
mm,
not for us to be like the most successful that we could be. It's almost for us to just fit in a system and like do what you're supposed to do.
mm,
But then we're at the whim of our employer's psychological landscape for the day. Like if your employer has a decision to fire you that day and you come in, your whole like the rug is ripped out from underneath you.
mm,
And we're so like emotionally tied to this job, like because well it pays us and pays our bills and takes care of our family. So if like to just be let go and fired, like that's really damaging to like
mm,
your psyche.
yeah.
So entrepreneurship is like a way out in a way, to be able to create something of yourself, like have that potential,
Mm,
design your life. Not to say that it's not easy. I mean, not to say that it's not hard.
yeah.
It is hard. It's not easy. It's just
Mm,
another option. I think that, like you said, it's not really talked about. It's not really mentioned. It's not really like in our universe, like in the school system, it's not like entrepreneurship is really presented as a viable option to us. No one
mm,
really talks
mm,
about it. So I think that's why it's like so elusive in a way, like trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
like from the pieces of information on the internet and people that we meet, like how can we
Mm.
work this work this out? Like
Yeah.
I don't know, you know what I mean? Like how do you build an online business and get clients and this whole thing? It's like you're like almost piecemealing it together, like
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. And I'm not sure if that's the best, way to go about
Yeah.
it, but
No, no, I think no, I think that's a really good way to put it. And I think like you have to kind of piece the pieces together, don't you, and try and find those kind of building blocks along the way. And I think, like you said, um, you just reminded me of that movie, The Matrix. I watched the first one, a bit of the
hmm,
first one the other day, and he talks about society, and like the world is like the Matrix, and
yeah,
people
good point.
working in society, and
Yeah.
I think there's that blue pill and that red pill thing, and he's
Yes.
like, do you want
Yes.
to wake up and back in your bed and it's all a dream, or do you want to kind of see how far the rabbit hole kind of goes? And
Yeah,
there
yeah,
is a
yeah.
there is a kind of like rabbit hole to like life, isn't there? Society, and like you said, we are just kind of doing what other people are doing, and we think
Yeah.
we should be doing what that person's
Yes,
doing, or what
exactly.
or what that person says we should do. And
Yeah,
I think there's nothing wrong
exactly.
with people doing that, but I think we've got more kind of purpose, and there's more to life than and there's more to people than just sitting at a computer and they're not happy, just to pay X, Y, Z. And like I was thinking about it a lot recently, like, what is happiness? Like what
Mm,
like and like what makes me happy is probably going to be different to what makes you happy,
totally.
or the next person. So I think it's a very personal thing, but I think
You're right.
people are just kind of thrown into the world, and like you said, don't know what they're doing. And I think you have to just try things out to find out what it is that you want to do, don't you? You just have to just probably keep on trying things.
Exactly. And it would be cool if our school system was like more set up that way. I'm not sure if you've heard of Montessori or not. Like the
Um,
Montessori education kind of, I think in grade school.
yeah,
Um,
Dan. I saw an old podcast of Joe Rogan, and Dan Carlin he had on. He said his kids go to a Montessori school and they choose what they want to do, or
yeah,
something like this.
exactly. Like it's kind of a whole environment that's set up for the children to kind of choose and interact and engage with their environment. Like you said, a little bit more freedom to of choice and what they want to play with or do. And so, anyways, I was reading all about it. My husband asked me what a Montessori was, and we went down this whole
Yeah.
rabbit trail of what it is. And that would be kind of neat if that was kind of replicated for us too, like as we
Mm,
grow, to be able to have more of a choice and like
mm,
experiment to find
yeah.
out like what it is that we want to do. And the teachers are more like in observation mode versus
Mm,
like us sitting in chairs, like being lectured to.
yeah.
That's like just like the traditional way of like school. And I don't think
Mm,
it's not very effective, like just sitting in chairs and being lectured to for hours on end versus actually engaging with your environment and
mm,
testing things, experimenting, like you said. And now, after we've gone through university, now we're just doing it. Like now we're like, oh, maybe we should test and try and figure out what it is that
yeah.
inspires me or motivates me because I've never really been asked or I've never really been that's never been really an option. It's just like go through this
Mm,
system we have for you. Just do it. There's never been like that encouragement of, well, what do you want, Adam?
yeah.
What does success or happiness look like to you?
Mm, mm,
What inspires or motivates you? Like, what do you want to do on a daily
mm,
basis? And it's okay to say, I don't know, but I think that's the first step to find out what it is, you want to do is to ask yourself,
mm,
like, how many times have you been asked, what do you want?
yeah. No, that's a really good point. And it's quite powerful when you peel back those layers and you kind of think about it, because I think you get it in job interview. I've had it in job interviews sometimes,
Yeah.
and um, I put my CV on a life coach, and they'll go, "Oh, you're a bit young to do that." And it's like, well, it, and I'm like, well, it's experiences, and age doesn't really matter, does it? At the end of the day, but I think, like you said, do it, we're not really kind of told how to deal with failure or
Mm-mm.
setbacks or difficult times. It's, it's like a bit of like a script, a bit of a program that
Yeah.
we're kind of put on, but it's like we're kind of taught how to be put on the program, but not how to taught to deal with the failures of the obstacles in that program. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Like we've been taught what to think, not how to think. We've been
Yeah.
told like this is what you should think, this is what you should believe, this is the system you should go through. We haven't really been empowered to use our own thoughts and think about, what it is we want and how to problem solve,
Mm,
and how to create. We've just been told, what to do, and we've agreed, we've done it.
mm,
We follow the steps until we're released from the system after graduation, college, university, and then we're like,
mm.
now it's up to us to think,
Yeah.
and like now we're like learning how to think for ourselves and how to come up with solutions and ideas and create the life that we, want
Mm,
versus fitting into like a mold, like you said, that society has told us is successful, whether it's like being a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. Like those are the
mm,
positions that are considered successful in our society,
mm.
but there's like so much more available to us. Like people are able to pay their bills by just sharing their story, like on YouTube. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like now people just are just they can
Mm,
make it doing that. So like there's a lot more potential, I think, for us to create something that's more unique to our skill set and what God has gifted us to do
mm,
versus us trying to force ourselves like in a mold that, like you said,
mm,
like, oh, I should do that because I guess that's what society says I should do, so I should try to fit in. And then we're
mm,
unhappy because we're trying to
mm.
fit something that wasn't designed for us. So
Yeah.
like it's a choice. Um, like you mentioned about the Matrix, I haven't seen that in a while, so but
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Like this like ultra reality that he's in,
Yeah.
versus like an option to see what kind of happens,
Mm,
on
mm,
this other route. And I think that we have that option. Like we're really young, we
mm.
can kind of create what we want to.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I think like it's it just shows you that like we have the ability, don't we, to kind of create what it is that we want to create if we believe it to work out. And I think like a lot of it kind of does come down to your mindset. And like when you went to like college or like university, like did you kind of know that you wanted to do that course? Like when I because I went to university and I had to retake my maths, and I don't know if I told you, I did like criminology for a couple of months.
Oh yes. Yes.
And I got there, and after a couple of months, I don't want. I just felt dread. I didn't want to do it, and I kind of knew I didn't want a career in it. So
Yes.
I came out. But
Yeah.
majority of the people I knew who were doing the course or other courses were afraid to disappoint their parents, or they were afraid
Exactly.
to drop out. They want the rejection. So I think a lot of the things that keep people in certain places are like the opinions of like their fear of what how other people are going to perceive them. And that's quite a dangerous place to be in. I think like sometimes we can fall into that trap, or
Mhm.
some people are in that loop. But I think by kind of listening to yourself and just kind of, like you said, trying things, and you kind of discover a new path, and opportunities open up for you. Like if I was worried about my podcast for 2 years, I didn't do it because I was afraid what people are
Right.
going to think. And then if I hadn't done that, we wouldn't be talking and everything else. So
It's a great point.
pretty it's pretty crazy when you break it down. When how kind of everything kind of dominoes into one thing to another, and all these experiences. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, you made a good point, Adam. Like Brene Brown said something to your point,
Yeah.
regarding like parents like influencing their children, and what they do with their lives. And she said something that was pretty, I think, powerful, that parents can't dream the dream for their kids. They can't have impose their dream on their kids, and they can only support them and like
mm,
give them their advice and what they've learned over life, but not like they can't create their dream for them. So, but like to your point, a lot of times kids will just do what they're told to do, like, oh, I don't want to disappoint my parents. That's what they want me to do.
mm,
And that's too bad because ultimately, like, we're gonna have to live our life, not our parents,
yeah,
so that, if we're ever in that position, I don't have kids yet. And
mm,
but I just thought like that is a good point. I wouldn't want to ever have my children feel like they want to prove something to me,
mm,
or not disappoint me because it's not, what they think I want. Like, I would want to encourage them to find out what it is,
mm,
that's within
yeah,
their heart, to do and their soul to do, that God created them to do. And it might take some like quiet time, and
mm,
like consideration and experimentation to do that. And I hope that I could provide that environment, you know, um, so that they can like, you know, be happy and not miserable in like a 9 to 5 or what,
yeah,
whatever. I mean, I can't imagine being in that position, but she just mentioned that that's kind of the role of a parent, is not
mm,
to you can't dream your kids' dreams or something like that. You can
yeah,
only support them
mm,
and following theirs. So
yeah.
you, I
I
think
think,
that's a powerful place to be,
I
as a
think,
parent.
yeah, no, I agree. I think that's probably the right way to be. I mean,
Mm,
what is right, but I mean, I think that's a pretty good place to be as a parent. I mean, like my mom has always said to me, she's always supported me in what I do, and always said, do what makes you happy, really. Um,
yeah.
which she'll give me advice, or she'll say, "Oh, I think this suits you. I think
Yeah.
that suits you," but it's not like I want you to do this.
Yes.
But
That's a
I
good
think that
point.
it's that difference, isn't it? Like saying, "Oh, I think this suits you. It's up to you," but I want you to
Right.
do this. But I think a lot of it, sometimes people have their parents who do that to them, or their grandparents, and then before you know it, like however many generations are doing what they've been told. And um,
Exactly.
there's there's that guy, the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, the guy
Mm-hmm.
who, who's the main guy who's the character. He said that his mom wanted him to be a dentist, and when she was feeding him, she was like spoon feeding him as a kid, saying, "You're going to be a dentist," and like it programmed his mind. She
Wow.
programmed him, and when he grew up, he wanted to be a dentist, and he went to um, like a lecture for like dentistry. And the guy was like, "Well, the age of dentistry is pretty much going down. If you're here to make a lot of money, then it's probably not for you." Um,
Wow.
and he was like in this lecture full of people, and he was like, "What?" And he like stood up and he got out. And then he
Wow.
realized that his mom had conditioned him, up to a
Yes.
certain age for him to do it, because that's what she wanted him to do, and that kind of thing. So it's pretty scary when you kind of think about that people in their belief systems, and because they just don't want, they don't want to let their parents down.
Hmm. Yeah, but that's cool that you were able to, in your experience, walk out because you were
Mm,
empowered to, it sounds like, from your mom to be able to say, like, if this doesn't make you happy or if this is not a fit, then it's okay to not do that thing, instead of feeling like stuck without a
mm,
choice to say, like, this isn't making me happy. And it doesn't actually take that long to find out
mm,
if you're happy or not, like with that thing you
mm.
can just kind of like tell like it's just like it's not really a fit for me, and you were able
Yeah.
to walk out while a lot of your peers had to stay because they
Mm,
felt, or not that they had to, but
yeah.
it was like this pressure,
Yeah.
you know that they had no choice. But we have a choice. And not to say that like having a job to pay the bills, like sometimes that you need that for a season, like you said, like
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
we don't maybe all have the luxury of like having a spouse that can
Mm,
in the meantime support you while you're trying to pursue your dreams and build the
mm,
business, whatever it is, like not
mm.
everyone has that like luxury, and you need to just take a job and you know put a roof over your head,
Yeah.
make ends meet for sure. But maybe
Yeah.
there is like a little time like in the evening or, an hour or two that you can work on
Mm,
that thing that kind of really
mm,
actually brings you joy, and then build it up to,
mm,
you know, where you're impacting a lot of people. And that, I think that's what takes time too. It's like good to have that realization that whatever it is you want to pursue, like if you want to be a YouTuber, put your videos out there, podcaster, get paid to
mm,
do that. But those things do take time and it's not overnight,
mm, mm,
like the Gary V's of the world. Like we're seeing him now, like after how many years? Was it
mm,
like 15, 20 years? I mean, this has been a work in progress. It's not just like overnight. We see Gary Vaynerchuk, it's been like
mm.
he was working at his parents' liquor store,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It wasn't even like on online, and then he turned it
Mm,
into like a wine business and this whole thing, like
mm.
sometimes maybe you'll get the dog faces of the world. I don't know if you recently heard that
Yeah,
story.
yeah. I saw it. Yeah, it's
Have you?
crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
And so you did see that is crazy, to be honest. That's a crazy story. Like
he's
that's kind of
pretty
an overnight. That was kind of an overnight thing. I think maybe there's
that's
some.
yeah, that's a crazy. I'm gonna try and find a video now.
Please do, because that was like the story of the year for,
I'll show people.
yeah,
Yeah,
story of the
he
year. If no one's heard of Dogface on who's listening to the podcast, go ahead, Adam. You were gonna
mm.
say what he did.
No, no, you can say it's fine. You can say.
I think it basically he was skating like on the highway. I think he was like longboarding with a bottle of ocean spray, cranberry
Yeah,
juice,
he was
and
just
then
drinking juice and then he's
he was lip syncing. Oh, there we go. That's him. hmm The
it's a pretty
Fleetwood
cool
Mac
song to do
song.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool song choice for sure.
Yeah, he's
Oh
yeah, so,
wow. And
and that
that's
and
like
that just
a minute. What is that clip that you just
that
played? It
was
was like
23 seconds and it
it
just
was
blew
23
up.
seconds. So
That's
23 seconds, and Ocean Spray gave him a brand new truck. TikTok made a commercial out of him. We
they do a
just read a
commercial as
story.
well. Wow.
Yeah. My husband just showed me a story that like he was able to pay cash, like his first home. He was living in an RV. So he
Yeah, I
was able
saw
to
that.
move his family from the RV to like
Wow.
into first home. I was like, I think that he paid like 320 or something for cash, like for his home. So I mean, that's a pretty crazy story on like what's possible by
Mm,
just putting out content. And he,
yeah.
I'm sure you saw like the news where he was thanking Gary Vee basically, because he was like, I was listening to Gary Vee in my head and I wasn't going to post the video, and he's like, but
Mm,
then I remember Gary Vee was like, just post stuff, just put it out there, and he's like, so I
mm,
just I just did it, even though I was thinking of not.
yeah.
So I
It's
mean, anything's possible, right? Like if
mm,
we just if we can just remember dog face when we don't want to put content out there, we're like, "Oh, I don't really
yeah.
want to. I'm not really feel embarrassed or what people could think." Like it could be that just one post that
Mm,
like
mm,
changes everything for you and retires you.
yeah. Yeah. There's that crazy like like with the internet today, like like you can just put a video out and it pops off, and then
For
there's me
whatever
there's been
reason.
yeah, there's been loads of videos like that where people have become famous. But I think like he can if he I think he works like a normal job and that's just
Yeah.
blown up, and then if he
Yeah.
can get a bit of sponsorships and helps his family out, and he just
Totally.
why not? And I think
Exactly. Why
it
not?
it, c- it can change your life. And
Yes, you
you
said
know
it,
he
Adam.
he was even he was even on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan even mentioned him, so then he's
Oh,
getting more
really?
traction. Yeah, and
Wow.
he was getting more traction through that. So it's a bit like a spider web, isn't it? It all kind of interconnects, and it's it's
Yeah,
pretty
and
inspiring.
for whatever reason, like dog face, like I mean, how many do you think like every day in the world there's like people probably skating, doing skate videos? I mean, he
Mm,
wasn't like there was just something people do. You can't deny that sometimes there's something like special about like the video, like the person. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that, you could just connect with him. Like
Mm.
he was kind of singing to you the song, his face, like he was kind of like a hard guy, but like still soft.
Tattoo on his
Yeah.
head.
Tattoo on his head, like he's this Hispanic guy. He looks kind of like a gang member, maybe. I mean, we're just making all snap judgments, right? But like
Assumptions, yeah.
assumptions we are based on his looks, but that's what we do, you know.
Mm.
But there was something that soft about him too, you know, that you could connect with. So
He's just enjoying the moment, wasn't he? I think he's enjoying the
yeah,
moment, and he's like, you can kind of relate to that when you enjoy something, and I think he's just being in the moment is quite natural as well. And I think um and people I think respect someone when they're being genuine as well.
that's a good point.
he's being his genuine self,
That's a really good point.
and I think that's kind of like what shines through in your stuff, isn't it? When you create something, it's like you can take reference from what other people are doing, but there's only one guy who's done that. There's only one guy who's
Exactly.
you know there's only like one Tony Robbins kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Good point.
You kind of have to have your own take on it, but people are going to
Yes.
notice that if you're, do you know what I mean, trying to be like that guy.
Yes. That's a good point, actually. I think for those out there listening who want to start creating content but are like fearful of what people are going to think of you, I think to your point, there's only one you
Mm,
ultimately. You know, like we all have a blueprint, you know, like God created us unique and we have a different perspective, like on
yeah.
life, on like the world, and we can share that perspective, you know,
Mm,
and it may be like a little different or whatever, but people might appreciate that, you know,
yeah.
perspective or
Yeah.
viewpoint. Kind of like you said, Dogface was being himself. And he
Yeah.
wasn't being anything but himself.
Mm,
So if we just kind of show up and just be ourselves and talk about what it is we're passionate about, you know,
mm,
without an agenda necessarily trying to sell something, you
yeah.
know, or
I think.
prove anything. He's just kind of like showed up and he was himself and he was
Mm,
cruising, like you said, enjoying the moment. We could resonate with that, and then boom,
mm,
it
just
took
blows
off,
up.
you know.
Yeah, it is crazy, and I think that's why I like Keanu Reeves as an actor because he's
Mm,
he's he's a pretty chill guy and he's just being himself, and like I think he lives quite a normal life, aside from
mm,
acting and that. And I know there's a bit of like controversy around Johnny Depp at the minute with everything, but I quite like how he is, as a person because he's quite deep. I think like I've seen him on a
yes.
talk show. He was on a UK talk show, and everybody was laughing at some video of someone falling over or something, and he was just like not laughing and just kind of like was. But like he's kind of like being himself. Like I think people respect
Yeah.
that as well. But that's it. But like as well, like I was just thinking, do you have any favorite books? I remember like I asked you previously, like favorite books you have.
Yeah, I know that's a great question. Great segue from our friend Dogface as our
Yeah,
inspiration.
yeah,
2020 inspiration of the year, you know, award goes to Dogface out there.
yeah.
So,
I know he's definitely did lighten things up this year.
what do you say?
He definitely lightened, this kind of year up after everything that had been
Yeah.
happening.
So we should definitely be inspired by him, you know, to just
Mm,
put things out there, even when we don't think that it'll resonate with
yeah,
anyone. It will. Yeah.
yeah. No,
And
I
then
agree.
maybe we'll get a free truck out of it, or
Yeah,
car,
yeah.
pay off
like a
our
fr-
debt. And
like a free limousine or jet or something. So
exactly. Right? I mean,
yeah.
anything's possible. So, yeah, favorite books for sure. This year, I would say, Adam, Self-Compassion, The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself by Kristen Neff has been very mindset shifting for sure.
Mm,
Um, we're pretty mean to ourselves. I would say even maybe more so women, very critical
mm,
about about how we look or, how we show up. And so
mm,
the self-compassion book is just a good read. It gives you practical advice on how to be kind, especially when you fail, have compassion for yourself. Even so much as like when you're feeling sad, there's like this like oxytocin and dopamine that's released when you like receive a hug. So
mm.
like even if you're like feeling bad, you can like squeeze your shoulder or arm as a
Yeah,
means of like comfort,
yeah, yeah.
So and like to let yourself know that like it's okay. It's okay to
Mm,
feel, bad, and not to like, oh, like you're an idiot, you're stupid, why did you say that? Those are the thoughts that we have. And
yeah,
instead
yeah.
we can say like we can have compassion for when we're
Mm,
experiencing difficult things, So
yeah.
that's a good read. I would definitely recommend that one. Enough by Sharon Jane. It's all about silencing the lies that steal your confidence.
Mm,
So this one is really faith-based, Adam. So like it's all about there's an enemy. So Satan is the enemy to God
mm,
and also our enemy. And he always tries to like steal our confidence that God has given to us. And so this book Enough is all about like unveiling who the real enemy is, and
mm,
then choosing to like reject the lies that come in, that say like we're not good enough or something, and then replacing the lies like with the truth.
mm,
So a lie is like you're not good enough, and then replacing that lie with the truth of what the Bible says, that you are enough, because of what God has done for you. So
mm,
that's also like another like mindset shifting book as well, receiving that. Um these and present over perfect, Shauna Nyquist. I'm reading that one actually right now. And actually, Madden, this is a good one to like get out of the hustle culture that we're in, like hustle, like grind it out, like do it, produce, like push, prove, like prove yourself by your doing, like that's kind of like the culture, like the world we're in. And
mm,
her whole book is like choosing to be more like present and intentional, like with time with your loved ones, time with
mm,
taking that space for yourself to just kind of remove yourself from like the proving, the doing, knowing that like your inherent worth is from God and not
mm,
from producing and hustling and grinding it out. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like
mm.
that we're enough just because we're human and God made us,
Yeah.
worthy. And that one's really been really impactful too, to kind of like slow down and shift your mindset that like
Mm,
as a content creator, like, oh, our worth is defined in like what we produce and what we have to keep doing. You know what I'm saying? It's like never
mm,
enough.
mm,
But actually, it is. We don't have to subscribe to that culture. We don't have to subscribe to that thought that um, the more we produce, the better we are, or the less we are if we don't. So
mm.
that one's a good one.
Yeah. That sounds great. Is there
Yeah.
another one you've got there, or is that
What'd you say?
is there another book on the way, or are you going to mention, or?
I could mention two other ones. Okay, so there's three: Think and Grow Rich and Designing Your
So
Life.
that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, those are really good ones. Think and Grow Rich, Money Mindset by Napoleon Hill. It's an
Yeah.
old one. And then Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. They teach a class at Harvard called Designing Your Life.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is a book version of that course.
That's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're really, really great books that you mentioned, and it just made me think back to the creativity side, and like you said, if you feel like sometimes like the whole grind of things, and like when you feel like it might not be enough, and I think like with that creativity, there's that you have to kind of have that balance, and you have to be quite self disciplined if you can, because sometimes I'll be putting out podcasts or doing networking, and I'm like, I probably should go to bed now, but sometimes you can just be on that keel probably of just doing and doing. So I think, like you said, it's important to have that kind of pause.
Yes, that like that balance versus like our producing wouldn't come from a place of feeling not worthy or not enough.
Mm,
It would come from a place of like being enough without those things
mm,
and producing based on more of our wholeness versus a lack of. I think that would really elevate our work.
yeah,
Whatever we put out there wouldn't come from this place of trying to prove, trying to push. It would become from a place of like, hey, I'm already whole as I
yeah,
am, and I'd like to share that, with
mm,
you.
mm,
That might really change the way people like receive our content.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And like as well, like, do you have any like role models or anyone like mentors, like professionally or personally?
Yeah, great question, Adam. I think I would say for sure, I'll start off by saying like the dog faces of the world,
Yeah.
the content creators, people that are just putting themselves out there, creatives, entrepreneurs, bloggers, vloggers that
Mm,
are just
mm,
actually getting paid to inspire the world by sharing their story.
mm,
They're just showing up consistently, putting it out there. All of them started from ground zero, not getting paid doing it, and then they just kept doing it. So just that inspires me, and I'm sure that inspires you to like want to keep
mm.
keep doing it too, knowing that it's possible. Like if they can do it, so can we. It's possible. You know.
Yeah.
So there's that group of people, that segment of people I'm inspired by. I would say definitely my husband actually is really inspires me because he's super hardworking, but like his story is what's inspiring. Is just like he was a college dropout and he had to kind of like run in with the law,
Mm,
like living at his parents' home, not finishing college and all that stuff. But then going from there to like finishing college and like enrolling in a full-time coding boot camp. I don't know if you
mm,
know what
mm,
coding is,
mm,
coding boot camp, Adam, and then just like successfully making a career pivot and earning over six figures like in within
mm,
3 years. Like it's just really cool to see that like story from someone that's close to like who kind of
mm,
went from like a kind of hit a rock bottom to
mm.
turning their lives around. So that
Yeah.
really inspires me too.
No, that's great.
Yeah, it is. I definitely want him. That'd be cool to have him share his story. He's not as like maybe I like to be like, creating content. Not everyone's like that,
Yeah,
but
everyone's
so
different.
many,
Yeah.
everyone's different, but so many people have like powerful stories to share. So I hope that
Mm.
one day he could like, share his story.
Yeah. 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 No, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Also, of course, Adam, Jesus Christ.
Mm, mm.
I have to mention him and not just as a biblical figure, but like, as a, man who generally who walked the earth, and
Yeah.
inspired
Yeah.
people by love. He just like
Mm,
loved people and just shared that message that, everyone is, um, worthy of love, to be loved. And,
mm,
he died for us. He, died for us for our sins so that we could like have
mm,
a relationship with God, like we were sinners and, in the world in darkness,
mm,
but then he loved us, and, he loved us so that we could have a relationship with him. So that's just
mm.
like yeah, I don't know, there's no other
Yeah.
person in the world like that who would just like die for people that
Sacrifice
cur-
himself.
yeah, exactly sacrificed himself, exactly, in a big way. So those are some of my mentors. I would want to mention one more.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
look her up, and her name is Jen M, and she's a Korean American YouTuber. And I like her because she's done like she's been doing YouTube for the last 10 years, but now she has like a clothing line collaboration with Disney.
Oh wow.
And I know, I know. And she also did like a jewelry line with like Nordstrom. And so I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, this is
Mm,
all from just doing a YouTube channel. She was able to collaborate with Disney. Like, who does that? Like, you know what I mean? Just like
yeah.
from sharing her, she didn't have a degree in fashion or anything like that. She just like likes fashion. So she started, I like watching her videos because they're like she shares her like day-to-day experience, but then she also talks about these crazy things like doing deals with brands,
Mm,
brand deals with Disney and Nordstrom, and
that's
that
awesome.
inspires me. Yeah, that inspires me to do it.
I think I think they're really, great role models that you mentioned. Yeah, sorry, the connection broke off there, but
No
I think those
problem.
books you mentioned are really good as well, and I think it's important to to read and to take value, to take value from things as well. But like,
Totally
but,
agree.
but where can people find you on social media, like website, that kind of thing?
Yeah, you can find me. My website, it's still a work in progress, but you can reach me at
Mm,
www.grindingandgrace.com. And really, that's grinding in grace is all about just like the human life, hustling, but doing it in a way that's like in faith. And then on LinkedIn, Cassandra Robinson, same with Instagram, grinding in
mm.
grace. Those are some places to find me. And if you want to email me, feel free to shoot me an email, hello@grindingandgrace.com. Happy to help you with any like of your branding needs, LinkedIn branding needs, design, business coaching, all of that. Feel free to reach out to me. It was awesome having being here with you, Adam.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're welcome. It was great talking to you, and I'll definitely, share whatever content you put out, and promote what you do as well. And I wish you all the best in what you're doing. It's been great talking to you.
You too. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.